Hey everybody, welcome to Buzzworthy Business, sponsored by Seaside Bank and Trust. I'm your host, Jesse Stakes, and today I have Julie Gaines from United Community Bank, which happens to be the parent company for our sponsor. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here, Jesse. Thank you.
So you head up our structured finance group.
I do. I cover Florida and North Carolina for the bank, and we support companies that need access to capital using assets that they've built within their company to use those assets and build a line of credit, essentially to help them grow.
So how does that differ from a traditional line of credit?
Great question. Asset-based lines of credit use a collateral pool that we can leverage to create what we call liquidity or access to a loan. Generally, a standard bank line of credit just uses accounts receivable or inventory for a line of credit. The other thing about an asset-based line of credit, and again, that pool of assets is critical,
Sure.
We can utilize other assets that the company has acquired through their growth phase. It could be their building, it could be machinery and equipment, to build a borrowing base or a loan structure around that. Again, more access to capital, which is more growth for the company.
So companies are growing hand over fist right now, especially in the Southeast. And I know you're seeing it probably more than I'd see it, but companies are looking for ways to gain access to capital. And instead of giving up a piece of their company and going to a venture capital company or going somewhere outside to where they have to necessarily give up, some part of their company, this is a much better alternative sometimes for those folks, right?
Absolutely, and it's really exciting to be in this space right now because generally in the past, companies that got these kind of loans were much larger companies. They had amassed a huge amount of assets within their company so that they could get asset-based lending, and I'm talking about very, very large
Sure.
companies. What's happened now over the last probably 15 or 20 years is a lot of lenders, bank lenders and non-bank lenders, have come downstream, and they've been able to provide asset-based or structured finance solutions to companies that are doing anywhere from $5 to $50 million in revenue. They don't have as many assets, but they are in a growth spurt, so they get access to the capital. The other thing we're seeing right now is a lot of companies need access to capital to build inventory because of supply chain issues.
No doubt.
So asset-based lines of credit give companies the ability to either hedge, to look ahead, or to bolster inventory so they have just-in-time inventory as they need it.
It's crazy because that's always been a kind of a huge buzzword. It is just-in-time inventory for the last, 30 years or so. But what I've seen a lot of companies now, because of the cost of goods rising, they're starting to store inventory again.
And that makes banks a little nervous and lenders a little nervous sometimes, but we're in a different climate right now and it's understandable. I'll give you an example. I've got a company that makes trailers and they couldn't get access to the axles of the one component,
Right.
which is the axles. They're made somewhere else. And they had to dive deep and they came to us and we provided them an asset-based line of credit so they could dive deep and build inventory around that specific asset they had to have, otherwise, boom, no trailers.
Right.
They actually won a contract with one of their competitors, over one of their competitors, because they had the axles and their competitors could not get access to those axles. Again, a working capital issue for the other company,
Yes.
which led to a growth opportunity for them.
Different times we're living in when it comes to that, right?
It really is.
So what industries, what people are you seeing that are starting to utilize your services?
Great question. Anybody who's making something or building something and selling it on terms to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So the trailer company would be one example. We've got anybody who is manufacturing or wholesaling a product into, let's just say, a big box retailer, or they're selling into the hospital systems, or they're selling to somebody overseas. We provide working capital lines of credit for export finance as well. So it really just depends. The exciting thing about being in this space, every company's different. Everybody has a story. It's just fabulous to be able to hear how so many business owners find a way to succeed, even in these cloistered times.
No doubt, and you really are a part of their growth. The kind of not necessarily the birth, but watching their company grow.
Absolutely, and you brought up private equity a few minutes ago. You definitely want to be strategic on when you pivot into selling a portion or all of your company to somebody else. And there's a way to do it now with asset-based or commercial finance and structured finance to do it on your own until you build your company up and are able to truly monetize a sale.
So Julie, how did you get involved in asset-based lending?
I've been in commercial banking for a very long time. When the economy tanked in 2006, 7, and 8, I started to see the writing on the wall, and I pivoted out of commercial banking into structured finance. And I learned how to do asset-based lending, roll up your sleeves and learn. I learned about factoring and other commercial finance solutions for companies that were either struggling or needed access to capital that they could not get from a traditional bank.
So if people want to learn more, I know they can join us at seasidebank.com.
Sure.
But if they want to get in touch with you directly, how can they get in touch with Julie Gaines?
The best way to do it is to reach out to you, Jesse. My contact information will be on the website. I'd be happy to have a conversation with any business owner who's exploring asset-based lending or structured finance, has questions. In an advisory capacity, I'm always open to hearing a story and seeing what solutions make the best sense for the borrower.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure.
If you guys would like to learn more about us here at Buzz TV or about our asset-based lending options at Seaside Bank, you can join us at jacksonvillebuzz.com. I'm your host, Jesse Stakes, and we'll catch you guys next time.